at the next event. Unfortunately for Raceco and Dreyer, a steering arm problem halted their progress temporarily. Despite mechanical first aid and lots of confidence, their troubles weren't over yet.
Ons sal nie voorwieldryf is nou weg. Ons sal net die agterwieldryf ry, maar ons gaan probeer. Give it a go.
Among the two-wheelers, much was expected from the championship leaders. Leading the 200 class is Brian Bontekoning, with Alfie Cox heading up the 250s, and Jeremy Davies and Errol Dalton tying for the 500 class. Luckily for the motorcyclists, their start was after sun-up and conditions relatively warm. Among the championship leaders, optimism was visible.
I've had seconds, thirds, and I'd really like to win it this year. I'm going to do my best and go all out.
I think it's going to be very difficult because it hasn't rained here for a while, and I'm in a good position. It's only one bike in front of me, so as long as I stay there, I think dust-wise I'm pretty free of it. But the guys that are starting further down the field are going to struggle to make time in the... I think we're going to catch the cars as well pretty early, and that'll also be a big factor.
I think 15-second intervals between bikes is a little bit silly because the dust is very bad here, you know, and especially this first section, a lot of rocks, so I'd prefer a bigger gap. But that's the way it is, so we'll just have to ride accordingly, take it easy and take our chances.
Unpredictability is the name of the off-road game, and no matter the initial lineup, finish results would always be completely different. Hoping for a change in desert race fortunes was Alfie Cox, who has yet to win this event. 4 times desert race winner Jeremy Davies had a race cam fitted to his helmet, later providing us with some unique race action. And away goes Errol Dalton as clerk of the course Peter Wilson drops the start flag. A 200cc motorcycle won the event last year, and Brian Bontekoning wouldn't say no to repeating that feat himself. The rest of the field left at 15-second intervals, the thick dust impeding competitors' progress and hampering their speeds. A big dice was expected between Davies and Cox, with the former moving into the lead soon after the start. However, despite the superior power of Davies' 600 machine against the 250, Cox didn't waste time in overtaking. At times, the two rode side by side, neither prepared to give an inch. The race cam being worn by Davies provides a unique and exciting view of the Kalahari action. Despite being furious rivals on the track, Davies and Cox are the best of friends. In fact, the pair prefer each other's company over any other during a flat-out race, saying it improves their concentration and keeps them on their toes. Despite the disparity in the capacity of their machines, the two are identically matched in talent and technique, Cox having the edge only in navigational skills. At the refuel point, 200 rider Brian Bontekoning arrived seconds behind Cox. Davies, disappointingly, having retired with electrical problems.
I'm sure. Yeah, I think it's broken.
Yeah, right.
Arriving third was Bontekoning's teammate Patrick Andrews on his 250. Andrews suffered frustrating problems this time last year when he twice ran out of fuel on day one.
Give me a lap, please. Okay. Brian, you will check me from here and a crash was behind your radio. China, I can't worry.
Last year's overall winner, Richard Manning, does some low flying on his Winston Yamaha 200. Back among the four-wheelers, Alfred van Vuren, who grew up in the region and thrives on dirt roads, was under pressure from Wiley Harrington in the Toyota-dominated Class 5. Ex-rally navigator Harrington chased hard and fast, but was to retire later with mechanical problems. The KLAUS DEGENER Jeff Bell team lost vital minutes with problems of one sort or another. But you can't keep this driver down for long. Punches, overshooting and getting lost are all part of a day's work in off-roading. Theo Coetzee and Ian Wedderburn from the Free State were looking good in their Class 4 Chev Bucky. Originally top Class 3 contenders, they recently moved classes after fitting a bigger engine to their truck. Although he started way down in 23rd position, Harry Roscoe soon moved up to the top 10 in his Class 9 Protea playing card Raceco. Wade and Grant PERRINS established their Class 10 dominance early. Their budget space frame is a direct result of the teams being last season's winner of the 10,000 Rand Off-Road Motor Club HPI Inserts Rookie of the Year award. A stationary off-roader is always an unhappy one. Here Linton DRAPER has a few choice comments to make about his luck in the monster Isuzu crew cab. Despite having started off well, an intermittent cutout problem eventually had him retiring completely. A few spare horses wouldn't have gone amiss in CECIL FINCHAM's case, whose bucky got stuck in the riverbed section. Riding shotgun to improve traction is part and parcel of a navigator's duties. In the same boat with the Fisser Bester team, the precariousness of the balancing feat apparently not phasing anyone, least of all the navigator. Former stuntman and powerboat pilot Johan Porpor Skippers had Tubby Sonicus doing likewise. This thick Kalahari sand is lethal, draining power and putting excessive strain on drive trains. At the service point, Super Tyre Suzuki rider Willie Ireland was well placed within the top 5, but he was not without his problems.
Very lucky ride today.
Any problems you watching?
Just now the exhaust pipe fell off, man. But with those I'm catching them.
Meanwhile, the four-wheelers had their own problems. Steve Parker had a slipping clutch and a shredded tyre, but with both parents fully involved in his sport, providing backup and service, there was no shortage of hands to help with the car, which sports a Mitsubishi Pajero turbo engine. After losing time with problems, Degener and Bell went like the clappers to catch up to the leaders, Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne. Schilling is a master of the long-distance event, having won this race 2 years ago, while Degener took the honours last year. The race cam fitted inside KASSIE Coetzee and Richard Leake's 4x4 Toyota Hilux gives an idea of what off-road racing is all about. If you suffer from kidney problems, this sport is definitely not for you. Lying fourth on the home stretch was single-seater driver Bux Carolyn in the Stealth Bomber Raceco. Despite the powerful engine, the going was tough through the soft and incredibly thick desert sand. Arnold and Estelle Mathieu were running a new engine in their Mayerton Toyota Raceco, but the sideshaft problems put a spanner in the works and lost them valuable time. They'd been lying in a comfortable 5th overall position prior to that. Frustrating Alfie Cox on his Fortfire Kawasaki was a puncture, which set him back a good few minutes. With a shortage of moose in the country, bikers are being forced to use old stock, which unfortunately has a tendency to collapse mid-race. Only 2.5 minutes behind Cox was Brian Bontekoning on the Lesotho office equipment Kawasaki. Although his pace on the 200 was good, the smaller machines have a hard job ploughing through the thick sand. Third place on the home stretch was filled by Willie Ireland on the Suzuki, 7 minutes behind Cox. At this stage, the faster motorcycles had caught up to the vehicles on the route, always a danger in these lethal, dusty conditions. Here, Wilfried Westlau and Dagmar Blankner share the dust with Ireland. Lying fourth was John Hodgson on the Truckatrica 200 Kawasaki. Another pair of stationary off-roaders, this time Van Vieren and Pelser, who were fixing a puncture. Their Class 5 CECIL Toyota Hilux had been lying sixth at the time. In a case like this, having a navigator to share the workload is a massive help and valuable time saver. Flying the Natal flag was Rob Gibbo Gibson, who was lying second in Class 9 at this stage. Gibson is an old off-road hand and has a consistent track record to his credit. Seconds behind him was Harry Roscoe, who'd stopped and lost a lot of time after suffering steering box problems, but nevertheless still managed to come home third in class and eighth overall at the overnight stop. Arriving with a crumpled bonnet were THEO COETZEE and Ian Wedderburn. A small collision with a tree not only dented the car, but subsequently caused overheating problems. Nevertheless, they arrived at the overnight stop as class leaders and ninth overall. 10th home were Nardus Alberts and Jack Purchase. Beneath the Rapsa colours of their car is the ex-Robin Yates Raceco, in which the Roof of Africa was won 3 years ago. Surprising everyone and receiving lots of encouragement from spectators was former motocross champ Russell Campbell, who reached the finish 8th overall after a steady run. Leading home Class 3 in the distinctive pink bakkie was Dani van der Merwe, always a consistent performer. The overnight stop was at Severn, consisting of some petrol bowsers, a church and not much else. Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne reached the overnight stop first in the Motortech Raceco. For Schilling, as a previous winner, it was almost like old times. Next home in second place were previous leaders Klaus Degener and Jeff Bell. They'd led for a fair distance before an incident with a tree stump caused them to stop and carry out minor mechanical first aid to the BP Chenowth. Reaching home third overall and first in class were KASSIE and Richard Leeke in the 4x4 Toyota Hilux. Stopping for emergency repairs to an oil leak had slowed them down, but nevertheless they were still less than a minute behind Degener. The leading motorcyclist home was Natal's Alfie Cox on the Ford Fire Kawasaki. His former substantial lead over second-placed Brian Bontekoning having been reduced to just over 2 minutes after his flat tyre. The lost time caused consternation to Cox, and frequent checking over his shoulder was evidence of this.
How was it? I've had an excellent run, but I've had my moose went out on me from the last refuel, and I've been going quarter, half throttle the whole way. I've lost so much time on this last 85 kilometers back, but I'm glad I've got here, and tomorrow's another day, you know.
For Bontekoning, it's been a long and arduous haul, but he wasn't displeased with his second place.
A lot easier than before, but I still think by tomorrow everybody's going to take a toll. It's going to be hard by tomorrow because the sand's a lot thicker than before, but yet the brush isn't as bad.
Halfway at the overnight stop, and for most a time to set up camp, wash off the thick desert dust and reflect on the day's racing.
Early this morning was difficult. I mean, I started in 6th place, but the dust was so bad that I was down to second gear at times. And on a straight road, the dust was just hanging.
Klaus Degener's crew worked hastily to sort out the car before the evening impound. It had taken quite a pounding after the day's dice was Schilling.
And we were like 10-15 meters behind him, right in his dust gap. And then I missed a turn and landed on top of a bush. Stripped reverse gear trying to get off, and we lost about 11-12 minutes there. And KASSIE kindly pulled us off there. We passed KASSIE again and came in second.
In the Toyota pits, there was just as much activity as KASSIE's crew sorted out his 4x4's problems and prepped it for the following day's action.
Ons het ernstige olielek ontwikkel. Een van die pype is beskadig in die proses, maar in elk geval ons het toe gelukkig so 'n paar liter olie gehad ingegooi En van daar af het ek redelik stadig gery. Ons het toe 5de gelê en so weer teruggekom na 3de plek toe.
The end of day one saw Space Frames dominating the top 10, but it's not over till the fat lady sings, as they say in the classics. The smaller machines dominated amongst the motorcycles, but Mora is a nog 'n dag in off-roading. Tent Town in the Kalahari, and in this small patch of civilization there was no lack of activity. Setting up camp, cooking, filling empty stomachs, and most importantly last-minute prepping before impound and for the following day's homeward stretch kept most people busy. Off-roaders are wonderfully adaptable creatures and can set up camp in even the most inhospitable parts of the country. This year's overnight stop boasted proper ablution blocks and a plentiful supply of hot water, the basic essentials to keep a racing driver happy. Spending a night beneath the stars is an integral and traditional aspect of the Toyota 1000 Desert Race, and this very informality is one of the reasons for the event's popularity.
A dust